Hey there, let's travel back in time. It is July 3rd, 2015. The Royals decided to demote infielder Christian Colon to get him regular at-bats for AAA Omaha. Mike Moustakas and Alcides Escobar were looking sharp, and the fans loved Omar Infante so much he almost got voted into the All-Star game, so there were not many chances for the former first-round pick to play. Ned said of the demotion, "As long as everybody is healthy, it does not make any sense to have him sit here." What truly did not make sense though, was the corresponding roster move. When fans heard the news, they figured longtime minor leaguer Whit Merrifield was coming to Kansas City and finally getting his chance. Instead, it was Dusty Coleman making a trip down I-29 to Kansas City, which left fans wondering, who is Dusty Coleman? Well, Dusty Coleman was drafted in the 28th round of the 2008 draft by the Oakland Athletics. He was never really a prospect at all. In 2009, Baseball America ranked him 22nd in Oakland's system, but he was never ranked after that. To be fair, that's one more appearance than Whit Merrifield. He hit free agency after 2014 and would sign with Kansas City on a minor league deal. His signing was honestly an afterthought. He was now 28 years old, spent almost all of the prior 3 seasons in AA, never even sniffing the majors, and was essentially a warm body to fill a roster spot. His stats were fine, and while his offense seemed better than Merrifield on paper, Whit was the better base runner and had more defensive flexibility. Now, this was long before two-hit Whit would emerge. At the time, he was just a 26-year-old career minor leaguer in the midst of a down year. Now, Coleman was likely going to remain on the bench, so it's not like he would sink into infamy right away, right? That night, Coleman would make his major league debut in a pretty big spot. The Royals entered the bottom of the 9th tied with the Twins, with a win helping the Royals increase their lead in the division. To lead off the inning, Salvador Perez hits a bloop single to become the winning run. After an Alex Rios single moves him to second base, and with Gerard Dyson already being used, the Royals bring in Coleman to pinch run for Salvi. Coleman stole 16 bases the prior year, so he had a little speed. Omar Infante successfully put down a sacrifice bunt worthy of an all-star selection, which moved Coleman to third base. With first base open, the Twins would intentionally walk Alcides Escobar, which would bring up Mike Moustakas with the bases loaded and 1 out. All Moose had to do was hit the ball to the outfield. A sacrifice fly would get the Royals the win and make Dusty Coleman a hero in his major league debut. Moose would hit the ball to shallow right field and he stopped. Well,
he stopped. What was he doing? He had it.
He hesitates down the line, stops, gets into a rundown, then gets thrown out at home. Apparently the kids call this a toot blonde. Listening to Rex Hudler on the local broadcast, he would have thought he witnessed a puppy die. This left the entire ballpark speechless, as this should have been the end of the game. The throw was on time but wide, so it's very fair to say Coleman would have scored. It would have took a miracle tag by catcher Kurt Suzuki to get the out. With Coleman's catching ability about as non-existent as his base running skills, the Royals brought in Drew Butera to catch, which ended his night. Thankfully, the Royals walked it off in the 10th inning, with Lorenzo Cain sneaking home on a Gerard Dyson blooper. The focus quickly shifted away from Coleman as the Royals had a win to celebrate. Coleman would only make 3 more appearances over the next 16 games, which included a brief return to Omaha. He had 3 strikeouts over 5 plate appearances, and would be optioned for good on July 24th, marking the end of his Royals career. During that time, Alex Gordon would go on the injury list, and Mike Moustakas would be placed on the bereavement list. Even then, those at-bats would go to Cheslor Cuthbert and Paulo Orlando, not Coleman. Interestingly, this situation came back to light 3 years later. On July 9th, 2018, Whit Merrifield revealed during an interview that during the 2015 season, he received a call to the big leagues only to be told the Royals changed their mind, opting to promote another player instead. He was told this after packing his bags and saying goodbye to his teammates. When the video was tweeted out, it mentioned this call happened 3 years ago this week, lining up perfectly with Dusty Coleman's promotion. While Coleman is never mentioned by name, the common consensus is that he is the player referenced. I've seen people mention that Omaha may have sent the wrong guy and the Royals specifically asked for Merrifield, never for Coleman, but I could not verify any truth to that. I feel like we would have seen Whit at some point in 2015 if the Royals truly wanted him on the roster, at least as a September call-up. In fact, when the Royals needed an extra middle infielder during the World Series, they turned a 20-year-old Adalberto Mondesi, who only recently made his debut in AAA. The World Series would be his major league debut. I think the Royals simply did not view Merrifield as high as some fans did. At the same time, Jose Martinez was raking in Omaha, but would never even be considered for a promotion due to his defense, or lack thereof. His story is worth his own video, but for now I'm mentioning Martinez because Whit Merrifield's situation was not unique. Both were older minor leaguers showing a little promise, but they got passed up for younger top prospects, older veterans, or Dusty Coleman. Remember Balbino Fuenmayor? Frank Schwindel? Similar story. I mean, the Royals didn't even add Whit to the 40-man roster that offseason, leaving him unprotected in the Real 5 draft where he somehow went unclaimed. That is how highly the Royals viewed Whit at the time, and it honestly makes it even more maddening they never sold high on him when they should have. I honestly believe Whit, and I do not think there's any deeper conspiracy to this situation. Believe it or not, 2015 was not the end of Dusty Coleman's major league career. A couple years later, the San Diego Padres would promote him to their active roster, giving him everyday at-bats after an injury to starting shortstop Eric Ibar. He made the most of his redemption tour. His 227, 268, 455 line is not impressive, but he did hit 4 home runs, 3 in his first 9 games, and briefly looked like a hidden gem. His .6 WAR in 27 games is worth about 3.6 WAR over a full season. Just a little fun with small sample sizes. Strikeouts ended up being a big issue, striking out 33 times in 71 plate appearances. He became a free agent after the season, and while he would play another season for San Diego's AAA team, he would never appear in a major league game again. Dusty Coleman's name may forever be infamous in Kansas City, however it's great to see his name become a cult hero in San Diego, even if it was for a brief time. I'm genuinely happy for him. The Padres gave him a chance to redeem himself, and while some in Kansas City may never forgive him, I'm sure others in San Diego would be quick to buy him a beer. Between us, on my list of most hated Royals, Coleman does not even make the honorable mention. It's not like he was Yuniesky Betancourt, or Jose Guillen, or Jonathan Sanchez, or Yuniesky Betancourt, or Mark Davis, or Naifi Perez. You get my point, right? Plenty of others have got more time to do more harm. Coleman's stint in San Diego helped him go out on a high note and look back fondly on a dream very few get to live. I think it's pretty clear that I have ideas for future videos. The best way to catch them is by liking and subscribing. On the topic of debuts, I talked about Salvi's impressive major league debut, just don't bring up how the game ended. Maybe I do circle back to Jose Martinez at some point, I don't know. The best way to find out is by subscribing. That button's somewhere around here.